Samphire Hoe is the newest part of England, hidden below the famous White Cliffs. Let's explore with the Reserve Ranger.
My name's Paul Holt. I work for the White Cliffs Countryside Project and I'm the Senior Project Officer for Samphire Hoe. We're on the front edge of the Hoe, and as we're looking down towards Folkestone, you can see there's a very large, long seawall, concrete promenade, and then it's got a gentle rolling landscape with these huge, big cliffs behind, and so it's beautiful. There's clear blue sky above it. It's very nice. The idea with the landscaping on the Hoe is it's to mimic the Folkestone Warren, which is a rotational landslip. So it's as if the Hoe has come down from the cliff face with a rise in the land towards the seaward edge and kind of a dip at the back edge towards the cliffs. But there's meadowpipits just flying over at the moment as well, which are one of our main breeding species of bird, a little tiny thing, like a small miniature thrush, streaky fronts, and they're ground nesters, and they have a lovely display flight, and they start off on the ground in the spring, they go and get to a high point. It's like a kamikaze pilot. They nosedive down, wings back, tail up. There are about 20 odd pairs of those. I just love wildlife, and I just love seeing how it's developing. And if you think in many ways, you can work in nature reserves around Britain, but most of them have been in existence for hundreds and thousands of years. But Samphire Hoe is a new piece of England, and literally I've been able to record the first early spider orchid that appeared, and count those and see the development and see when new species of plant or new species of bird arrive. So it's almost, I'm watching a blank canvas develop into an amazing kind of area. Animals aren't so obvious to see. Birds are kind of the main thing that I really enjoy seeing. And one of the particular ones is stonechats, like a little robin with a black head and a vicar's white collar and an orangey front. And unlike most birds, they don't hide, they sit on top of bushes. And if you think of their name, stonechat, they have lovely call, like two pebbles being knocked together, kind of sort of noise. Beautiful birds, and quite an unusual bird as a breeding bird in Kent. There's probably less than 20 pairs in Kent, and we have up to 4 pairs breeding on the Hoe and on the cliffs. So yeah, I think that's my favourite bird at Samphire Hoe. Well, we're looking at some of the close-up of the vegetation that's growing on the Hoe. The Hoe is a type of chalk grassland, and this nice little plant that you can see in front of us has got small green leaves, slightly lanceolate in shape, and they're hairy. And if you look underneath them, they've got lovely silver undersides to the leaves, and it's got quite a pleasant name. This one, it's called mouse-eared hawkweed, and you can actually see with a bit of imagination why it's called a mouse's ear. Well, we're standing by the side of the Samphire Tower, which is an artwork which is about this house, almost as tall as a house. It's a blue tower, 5 sides, and it's created by Johnny Easterby and his partner Pippa, and his inspiration was lighthouses. It links in to the Sustrand cycle route, which goes all the way along the cliffs.
We are now entering the Samphire Tower. Inside you can hear a French version of King Lear.
From inside you can see this kind of big wooden construction. It's basically made from French green oak and clad in larch, Welsh larch, and it looks almost kind of cathedral-like in some ways. Great. Then there's pictures on the walls, and they are aged. They're purposely aged to make it look like they've been here for many years. It just gives an impression. They're not specific to give you exact ideas or identify plants or maps. It's just to give a feeling, really, I think. And there's also a lovely brass telescope which you can look out to see, and as you move the telescope it activates these different soundscapes, and there's one playing in the background at the moment which I think is King Lear in French. There's bits that are recorded over in Eurotunnel terminals. There's trains hurtling past. There's another one with a child flying a kite on the beach at Wimereux, which is really nice, and other bits recorded at the port. So it's a real mixture of different soundscapes.
You may have noticed connections between Samphire Hoe and King Lear. Is there a link between the Hoe and Shakespeare?
Well, we're right next to the railway line at the base of the cliffs, and we're just by a rock samphire plant. And this is really what the Hoe was named after in many ways. When it was a construction site, it was known as Shakespeare Cliff Lower Construction Platform. which isn't the most romantic name in the world. So there was a competition in the local paper, Dover Express, I think, to come up with the name for this new bit of England. And there was Jill Janaway, who was an English teacher, and being an English teacher, he knows King Lear. And in King Lear, there's one particular part where one of the characters has been blinded for being loyal to the king. He's had his eyes gouged out, and he's trying to find a bit of cliff to throw himself off. And he's staggering along, and on the way he meets a beggar, and he says to the beggar, "Knowst thou the way to Dover?" And the beggar says, "Yes, I know all the stiles and gates and paths." And he says, "There is a cliff whose high and bending head looks fearfully into the confined deep. Take me to but the very brim of it, and from there I shall repair the misery thou dost bear." Basically, take you to the cliff edge, I'll give you some money, then I'm going to jump off. But it turns out that the beggar is his son in disguise, and obviously his son doesn't want his dad to kill himself. So he takes him towards the cliff edge, stands him on a 3-foot high lump, and describes the scene that the blind man can't see. He says, "The crows and choughs that hang the midway air show scarce as small as beetles, and halfway down hangs one that gathers samphire, dreadful trade." And it was this plant which was collected in about mid-May. You had men hanging down the cliffs on hemp ropes, picking the fleshy green leaves, these succulent green leaves, and it was then put into sacks and eventually taken home and put into barrels of brine, and it was then exported up to London, where it was eaten as a side dish to meat. Samphire Hoe is an attractive place for families to visit just by the very nature of its location in many ways. You've got this superb backdrop of the greeny white cliffs of Dover. There's views out to sea. It's naturally fairly sheltered on some days. There's a nice beach at one end. It's a really dramatic landscape, which is an attractive place to visit. We've also tried very hard to make it, accessible for everybody and a pleasant sight in the sense that it's a safe place to visit. And also there's information, you can get free leaflets, and importantly you can get a cup of tea, and there's a loo.
We hope this has inspired you to visit the Hoe. Please visit samphire hoe.com for more information.